strata living is very unique and different to living in a freestanding property. To tell us more about what strata living entails and what people need to be aware of before making a choice to move into this type of accommodation, I'm joined by the CEO of Strata Community Association of Queensland, Laura Boss. Welcome, Laura.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Antonia.
It's a pleasure. So, Laura, let's talk a little bit about the differences between living in a freestanding home, let's call it a 3 or 4 bedroom home on a block of land with a big backyard, and then we make the transition into living in a unit or an apartment in a strata scheme. There are some significant differences between those two. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
Sure. There's lots of differences. I mean, I think first you've pinpointed it really clearly. A freestanding home with a garden around, your neighbours a little bit further away than perhaps if you were living in an apartment. So there is that adjustment to make, that you do have people who are perhaps living a little bit closer than you would normally have experienced. Of course, you're moving into a smaller environment, so it's really important to understand that you may not have the storage that perhaps you had before. You don't have the benefit of a shed in the back garden or a massive garage to store your things. And of course, then you've got shared facilities. I think one of the things that is not well understood about strata or strata living is that when you buy into a strata property, you are not just buying a unit, you are buying into a big building, and you own a share of that building and all the facilities and all of the grounds that go around that. So there's some of the things that people don't quite understand with the transition into those environments. And you're moving into a community. You're moving in with people that you don't know and who are living in closer proximity. And I guess if you are not a neighbourly person, it may not be the right choice for you.
I think that those are really good points that you make. It really comes down to your personality type, whether that type of living will suit you or not. You touched on an important point, which is, of course, when we live in a strata environment, there are some legal structures that come with that. So let's talk about due diligence. There are some important questions that you should look into before you commit to buying into this type of scheme. What can you tell us about what we should be asking?
There's a lot of questions that you should be asking from not only a legal perspective, but also the community perspective. So I always think there's 2 layers of questions. So the first is clearly around understanding what the body corporate situation is. And there's some great people out there called search agents who can assist with finding out all of these questions. So they will help you understand the age of your building, the health of the body corporate in terms of funds for maintenance. Because remember, you buy the unit or the apartment or the townhouse, but you are expected to contribute on an ongoing basis to all of the beautiful grounds you may have, that pool that you so enjoy, perhaps the gym that might be a part of your new apartment blocks. They are yours, and you are an owner of those as well. So it's important that you understand what that looks like. There's also getting an understanding of the culture of the body corporate as well. So there are definitely questions you can ask around dispute levels that happen in the body corporate, because you want to move into a nice environment as well. You can also ask a number of questions about the building health itself. So, the older the building gets, the more maintenance that is required. And the last thing anybody wants is a nasty surprise in moving into, say, an apartment block where they're about to be hit with what we call a special levy because maintenance is required. So it's really important you get an understanding of not just the legal aspects, but also the health of the body corporate and the health of the community that you're moving into.
Some really excellent points. I would always recommend that you do engage someone with expertise in this area to help you conduct that due diligence, and also think about, I'm sure you would agree, making the contract subject to the completion of that due diligence and your satisfaction with it. I think that's really important.
100%. I hear a lot of stories, obviously, in my role from people who haven't done that work. and have moved into an environment that just wasn't suitable at all. So we always recommend that work gets done. And Strata managers are always there to help and support people who ask those questions and supply the information that's required.
Yep, excellent points. So let's talk about some of the benefits associated with strata living. I know that for me, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is how low maintenance it is in comparison to that freestanding property. And we've all got such busy lifestyles, so that's the one for me that always jumps out. But what are some of the other benefits that come with this type of living arrangement?
Yeah, sure. There's so many. So, I mean, of course, you've picked up on the busy lifestyle, lower maintenance, less gardens, all of those things that you have to look after personally. You don't have to clean the pool anymore. But I think one of the key things, or there's a couple of key things. The first is location. Apartment living, for example, is a really affordable way for somebody to perhaps buy into that beach lifestyle that they have not been able to do in a freestanding home. And so it opens up that opportunity. It also opens up the opportunity to experience facilities that you just don't have in a freestanding dwelling. So a lot of beautiful apartments that are being built at the moment have really catered to lifestyle. So you see them now being built with gyms. Yes. Beautiful resort pool areas, communal areas on the rooftop where people can enjoy sunset drinks together. And it is that community aspect as well. So, while there can be some great, because everybody's personality is different, there's some magnificent communities that really come together and they enjoy their sunset drinks together in the afternoon and barbecues and all of that can be really a lovely environment to move into. So the downsizing is important, and we've all collected things over the years. It gives us that bit of an opportunity to have a clean out, a refresh as we move into a different kind of part of our life. But definitely the locations and being able to have somewhere that you may not be able to afford in a freestanding buying a freestanding home are really critical.
I can already think of a number of apartment complexes that I'm aware of where if I lived there, I'm not sure I'd ever need to leave again. Everything is available within the complex, and so I think we've really started to get much better at building these wonderful complexes that cater for all of your needs and wants so beautifully. You touched very briefly on that subject of transitioning into this type of living. So let's finish on that point. What kind of advice do you have for people who are moving from a property that obviously is large, a lot more bedrooms, a lot more space? We accumulate possessions over the years. So what's your advice for how you go about transitioning, whether it be about what you do with those possessions or perhaps other issues associated with making the change?
Sure. I mean, firstly, if you've got friends who live in apartments, talk to them. Because they will have really practical advice around what to do, what you need, what you don't need. But it's also that positive mindset in embracing the new era. And what do you want to take forward and move forward? Take your time. Really think about what it is you want to take forward and leave. And it's also about what your environment looks like as well. So some people will move into a duplex or a townhouse which may have a little more room than perhaps an apartment does. But I just say embrace it. Embrace the opportunity to change and to look at stepping into this new life with perhaps without the burdens of the stuff that you carry. I'm sick of cleaning my house and all the little dust gathering stuff that sits around, but take the meaningful stuff forward and use that as an opportunity to step in.
That's great advice, Laura. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insights into strata living.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Antonia Mercabella, CEO of the Real Estate Institute of Queensland. Thanks so much for watching this video, which is a segment from REIQ, a show produced by the REIQ to help provide insights into real estate for both people in the industry and consumers. I'd love it if you could subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the notification bell. That way you'll get notified whenever we post a new video. Speaking of new videos, you might want to check out this one next.